What is truth? That's the question that Pilate asked Jesus before Jesus was crucified. It's a question that's still being asked today. Today is Wednesday, March 27th, 2024. We are in the middle of Holy Week, and I felt it was good just to reflect for a few moments on this question that Pilate asked 2,000 years ago. We find the question in the Gospel of John, John chapter 18, and we read this, and I'm going to start in verse number 36 here. Jesus answered, "My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, then would my servants fight, that I should not be delivered to the Jews. But now is my kingdom not from hence." Pilate therefore said unto him, "Art thou a king then?" Jesus answered, "Thou sayest that I am a king. To this end I was born, and for this cause came I into the world, that I should bear witness unto the truth. Every one that is of the truth heareth my voice." Pilate saith unto him, "What is truth?" And when he had said this, he went out again unto the Jews, and said unto them, I find in him no fault at all. I'm not going to go into all the details of this appearance before Pilate and all the trials and all the stuff that Jesus is going through in these hours before his crucifixion. But I do want us to reflect on that question. What is truth? No doubt you have encountered this question and perhaps even asked it yourself at times. And it's a question that everyone throughout our society and throughout our world grapples with, even if they don't consciously understand it. Because when it comes to this question of what is truth, we're asking really the question about what is right and what is wrong, what's proper behavior, what's improper behavior, what's healthy, what's not healthy, what should we do and what should we not do. At the heart of all those questions, is there a God? What's my relationship with God and all that? At the heart of all those questions, we're really looking for what is true. What can we know is true, and is there such a thing as truth? And is truth objective or is it subjective? And how do we even get our mental arms around that? This is a big question, and I've posted on Facebook a few times my opinions on this, and I've even gotten some friends of mine that have pushed back and basically said that truth is subjective, that it's not objective, and this really, our whole culture and society went through this postmodernist phase, you might say, at least in culture, probably from the Vietnam War, Watergate era, up through the early part of the 21st century. And, postmodernism, like most horrible theories and bad ideas, started in academia, and it has permeated into the entertainment culture and into mainstream culture from there. And a lot of us are still hung over from society's infatuation with postmodernism. It is not as prevalent now in academic circles as it was then. Now what we're seeing is that truth is sourced in communities. That's kind of where academia is right now. Let me back up just for a second, and some of you might be a little bit lost in what I'm saying. Let me put it this way. When it comes to truth, and if we understand truth as the basic understanding of what is factual, that truth is what conforms to reality, that truth is what conforms to facts, okay? If we understand that, then there are only so many places that we can source truth, that we can ground it. There's only so many ways that we can say, this is true. You either have to source it in people, in yourself, in circumstances or other stuff outside of you, or in God. And of course, the Bible gives the answer that. So let me also add, before I even get to that a lot of people then use science to source truth in science. But you'll note that if you really understand what science is, science itself, has a lot of aspects to it that really can't apprehend truth. There's a lot of things that science can't give us truth-based answers for. For example, science has no way to tell us that the Nazi scientists in World War II were morally, objectively speaking, wrong in what they did in their experiments. Now, obviously, I would hope that you and I would join together in full and unequivocal condemnation of what the Nazis did in World War II, in the concentration camps and all of that, and the medical experiments that they often conducted, the Nazi scientists and doctors conducted on the innocent victims in those concentration camps. But science itself, as a field of study, cannot objectively speak to the rightness or the wrongness of that. That is a truth claim that's outside the purview of science. And so you really have to ask yourself, where do you source truth? And science is not going to get you there. You just can't do it through science. There are certain things that science can help in our pursuit of the truth, but science in and of itself can't answer all truth questions. And so neither can you. You and I are flawed human beings, and we've not always been around. So if you're going to source truth to yourself and say that you are the determiner of truth, then what do you do with all the stuff that happened before you were born, and all the stuff that's going to continue to happen after you die? What about that? If you're going to source it to a community or to a country, well, what makes your country, your nation state, superior to others? And if you're going to source it to your tribe and define that tribe or community however you want, what makes your tribe or your community superior to others? How can you source truth to that? Now, this issue of understanding and sourcing truth is something that goes back even to Jesus' day, back into the ancient world, and that's where Pilate's cynicism is coming from. Pilate, you understand about Roman society, the whole Greco-Roman world was steeped in philosophy, and so Pilate, being a Roman official, would have been educated in all this stuff. He understood the philosopher debates over the nature of truth. He understood it. He was immersed in it. And so that's why he was cynical. He had basically given up on the quest for truth, which is why he asks Jesus flippantly, what is truth? And then walks away and doesn't even wait for an answer. So this issue of what is true and what's false, this has been a thing that's been debated for all of human history. In fact, go back to the Garden of Eden, and that's really what Satan is tempting Eve over. Did God really say? That's a truth question. Did God really say that? And he's challenging Eve on that. Well, but the Garden of Eden actually has the answer. You see, in Deuteronomy, we're told that God is truth. That the only place you can source truth is God. And so for Adam and Eve, they could have avoided Satan's lies and deception if they would have sourced truth in God and their relationship with God. If it was enough for them just to trust God, they don't need to know everything. They were tempted to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And God was saying, you don't need to know good and evil. You just need to trust me, because God is truth. And that is the lesson for all of us even today. It's like there's going to be questions that come up that you don't know the answer to. There's going to be things that come up that you don't know how to figure out. But the closer you are to God, the closer you are to the truth. The more you trust in God, the more you don't need to rely on your own human knowledge. That's why Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. Don't lean on your own understanding. Don't lean on your own knowledge. Of course you should seek after knowledge. Of course you should grow in knowledge and wisdom. You got the entire book of Proverbs to tell you that we need to do that. So I'm not in any way saying knowledge is bad. But I do agree with what Paul says, that knowledge can puff us up, because knowledge can fill us with pride and a false sense of security. And in fact, knowledge completely disconnected from a relationship with God can lead us into confusion and despair, frankly. So if you want to see your path clearly in life, if you want to really understand what's right and what's wrong and what you should do and what you shouldn't do, and the decisions that you should make, you need to focus on being as close to God as possible and trusting in him, not leaning on yourself, not leaning on society, not leaning on people, but trusting in God. I started to say earlier a little bit about where society is at present right now, and how society today, certainly in academia, tends to source truth and meaning and purpose in communities. And that's basically where we are. Because now what you'll find is, and this is kind of got a quasi-Marxist thing to it, quasi-Marxist thing, quasi, whatever, I'd say quasi. But it's the idea that, depending on what racial group you're in, or what demographic group you're in, or what tribal group you're in, whether you're white or black, or gay or straight or trans, or whatever, you're kind of in this identity group, okay? And that certain identity groups have had more privileges than other identity groups over the years, and in our society right now, particularly in academia, the whole idea is that truth is kind of sourced and geared to those communities, so much so that people who may be speaking on a particular subject, if they're not identified with or representative of a credible community, they're kind of dismissed out of hand. Credible in the eyes, of course, of the listener. But truth is not based on the person, and truth is not based on a group. Truth is based on God, because God is truth. And that means that neither the rich nor the poor have automatic access or privileged access to truth. God is truth. And the closer we are to God, the more we will understand truth, whether we're rich or poor, whether we're black or white, whatever our skin color might be, whatever, none of that matters. What matters is God. And are you close to God? Because the irony of the conversation that Jesus had with Pilate, the irony of it is that he was speaking to truth. Truth was right there in front of him, and he didn't even know it, because Pilate was not close to God. And so, Jesus says in John 14, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but by me. So the reality is, God is truth. And the closer you are to God, the more you will understand that. That's my message for you today. Hope it's been an encouragement to you. Feel free to ask any questions or make any comments in the comment section. God bless you. Take care.